We have a slow clock back there. I'm going to call the meeting to order. The regular Board of Selectmen meeting. All right, adoption of the agenda. Any changes, additions? Make a motion? Second. Okay, public comment. Yes, Paul.
No one else? The last time this board met, there was a very specific allegation made that you or your family had benefited from unpaid for work by a contractor who had business before the town. And I asked you at the time if you would tell us, everybody, your version of the facts behind that allegation. Because I don't know if it's true, I don't know if it's untrue, I have no position on that. And you said, if my memory serves, that you wanted the request in writing, so I gave it to you in writing at that meeting, and then you said you wanted time to consult with your attorney. Now that you've had a month to do that, are you prepared to share with us your version of the facts that surround that allegation?
I'm very happy to respond to that. This is my response. And this is from Judith Dixon, the town attorney.
Oh, excuse me, is she your attorney too?
No,
Well,
she's not. This is the town attorney. May I finish?
Actually, it's my comment time. This is an allegation of personal malfeasance, and the town's interest and yours diverge. I don't believe that Ms. Dixon can represent you in this. If she feels differently, then that's a very interesting proposition.
Are you finished?
My question is Jim.
Thank you. The Freedom of Information Act governs public meetings and documents of public agencies, specifically public records. It appears that this request concerns work done privately and not for the town. Under those circumstances, documents in connection with this request are not public records. Further, the person making the request is not necessarily asking for existing documents, but for you to provide specific information. This information is not covered by freedom of information. Accordingly, whether you answer these questions is within your discretion. So this is our response from Judith Dixon.
So
my response to you, Mr. Rooney,
yep.
is that I do not feel that this has any relevance to the issue at hand, which is the King Hill Road drainage issue. Because I do not feel it's relevant, I choose not to discuss it further.
Okay, so your decision is that you will not make that information public?
Correct.
Even though it's within your knowledge?
Correct. I see no reason to do that. You're welcome.
Any other comments? Yes. Give your name.
Yes, Larry Rand. I'd like to read a letter from several members of the Sharon Democratic Town Committee to the Town of Sharon Board of Selectmen. As members of the Sharon Democratic Town Committee, we thank the Board of Selectmen and the town for giving us this opportunity to publicly support Selectwoman Meg Sellers. As a Selectwoman, Meg has provided the citizens of Sharon with capable and solid representation. The record shows that she works diligently to fairly examine and assess issues of importance to the town. Meg places a high priority on working together with the Board of Selectmen to do what is in Sharon's best interest. She has enjoyed a productive working relationship with Selectman Matthews. We think this kind of relationship and constructive interaction provide the town with the best type of governance. The Sharon Democratic Town Committee is very proud of Meg and her service. As Democrats, we see an immediate need for civility, respect, and transparency in our local government. We expect our elected officials, regardless of party affiliation, to represent the citizens of Sharon and to provide an example of what working together should look like, despite political and philosophical differences. There is too much discord in our federal government at present, and it is our wish that this bad influence not be allowed to permeate downwards and affect how we operate our small town. All of our elected officials, and I repeat that, all of our elected officials work hard for the town of Sharon, and we truly appreciate their efforts. If there is any way the Sharon Democratic Town Committee can assist the Board of Selectmen, please let us know by contacting our chair, Tom Bartlett. Thank you. Signed, Jessica Fowler, Larry Rand, Marilyn Yerkes, Susan Lynn, Barbara Prindle, Nick Gordon, Harding Bancroft, and Alex Hunter.
Any others? No.
Mrs. Dixon has been the town attorney for the town of Sharon for approximately 30 years. She is also the town attorney for the towns of Falls Village and North Canton. She has, therefore, a great deal of experience in municipal law. She defends not only the town, she would offer legal advice and defense to any individual working for or volunteering for the town. And if she felt that it was not appropriate for her to be stepping into that role and that somebody else should fill the role, she would be the first one to say so.
Paul?
I think that Ms. Dixon, the only thing she's commented on is whether what was asked for was within the purview of the Freedom of Information Act and the Public Meetings Act, which was not the question. The question was whether there was enough here that somebody should at least come forward and rebut the charges if they're not going to recuse themselves from acting on behalf of somebody from whom it is alleged that they took a gratuity. So I think Ms. Dixon's letter is actually not even relevant. There was no question of it being required to be released. It was just requested.
Any others? Yes.
Well, I listened to, my name is Ann Saunders, I'm Ann Saunders, and I did watch the meeting on Channel 6, the last meeting in which there was discussion about this. And if I'm not mistaken, what came out was there was some work done on Meg's home, something like 6 or 7 years, or 5 or 6 or 7 years before she even thought of becoming before she even thought of running for selectman. So what this has to do with anything, it seems to me totally irrelevant, totally improper, more like a witch hunt that was a shameful episode and should be put to bed, and Meg's owed an apology. That's my opinion.
Yes.
My name is Alan Tucker. I've been up here for 20 years, but I moved up here permanently last year, and I go here now. And I decided to become a Democrat to help our new senator. But I do have a question. I watched on Channel 6 the September meeting, thanks to Marshall Miles and his photography. And it struck me that, I don't know, it's a question. Is this issue going to come up later in the meeting? That I was shocked and appalled, not only, of course, at the discourtesy and ugliness of the meeting, but that it seemed that a contract for $1, $2, or maybe $3 tens of thousands of dollars was, and arrangements were made with the contractor without consultation with this is still a question, without consultation with the other 2 selectmen, as I would imagine is ordained by statute. And work was authorized or not, it seemed unclear, and without any written contract duly signed by both parties, which was the case with the hospital for their part of the work. So my question is this going to come up for discussion later in the meeting? Because I can't imagine that after 200 and some years, the state of Connecticut does not have statutes requiring that these expenditures be discussed properly and with a signed contract agreeing to what is to be done, what is not to be done, what is to be paid, when it is to be paid, and all these other things. The hospital did it. Apparently the town did not. So my question is, will this come up in discussion this evening?
I believe it will.
Yes. Thank you.
And just to clarify that, it was voted on at, I think it was the May 6th meeting, about that whole project. And at that meeting, it was discussed between the selectmen. Mr. Palmer was at the meeting, and it was the project was described. John made the motion to accept it, made a motion, Meg seconded it, and it was voted on.
May I respond?
Yes.
But shouldn't there be a written contract? This is leaving the door open for all kinds of, not that I'm saying that, this is the case
Yeah, I
here.
think there's some.
Shouldn't there be a written contract? I have a written contract with the contractors.
Yes, Mr. Palmer had a written contract with the hospital.
And both parties signed it.
I believe that he had the contract. We'll explain it to you here in the meeting.
Okay, it just seems like a mystery since I was in business for a long time, and it's a lot of money to go around without.
Exactly. I think there's some confusion about the whole process, and if we have to discuss it again, bring it out, open discussion, I think that's what we need to do.
Thank you.
Any others? If not, we'll vote on the minutes of the previous meetings on September 13th, 16th, and October 6th. Someone like to make a motion to?
I'll make a motion and some of corrections and either all three will move maybe adopted as written.
Okay,
I second.
okay, thank you. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Number 5 is Harry Hall. Harry has some statement.
I'm a little shy addressing this audience group. Some of the things I want to say have been reflected already, independent of my own. And I have a written paper which I'd like to read, but if it's too long, I can give you copies. I would prefer to read it if that's acceptable.
Fine, go ahead and read.
I come to you before as a private citizen carrying no message but my own. I thank you for allowing me the privilege of addressing you. I would like to congratulate and thank each of you for your effort and your time on behalf of this little town I have come to love. I was shown a DVD of the recent meeting of the Board of Selectmen, which was held, I think, on September 13th. I was distressed by what I saw and wanted to share my concern with you all and to make a few suggestions which might help to prevent a recurrence and to alleviate what might be festering into a sore spot. The Board of Selectmen's meetings I have attended myself, particularly on the road building thing, the last 17 years and with the sewer company and commission, and for the 26 years I was vice president and chief engineer of Domino Sugar. In each of those cases, the board or the commission was addressed and presented by others with an agenda and with data. In the meetings here of the Board of Selectmen, the chairman was not only the chief umpire and the decision maker, but he was also the presenter. I saw no written statements, no accounting details, no schedules, and no forecast for those in attendance to review. I think that's a mistake. I look on the Board of Selectmen as having a dual capacity. First and foremost, they are the executive branch of the town government. Secondly, they act as a deliberative body which considers and either approves or rejects or recommends actions that are presented by themselves and by others. In the old days, when the town governance system was established, many, many years ago, there were town meetings in which all male property owners were allowed to vote. Everyone in town attended those meetings in the days before telephones, automobiles, and all the modern technology, advanced things we use today. Currently, almost nobody goes to the town meetings. Sometimes as many as 25 to 30 people in the town meeting have a vote, and the Board of Selectmen and the Board of Finance accept that vote as binding, even though there's not a fair representation of the decisions of the vast majority of the townspeople. I think there should be some intermediate steps which could possibly rectify and ameliorate hurried decisions at town meetings, such as the concept of spending about $400,000 of state and town money to build a dog pound in which almost no dogs will be housed. While I particularly do not like this excessive spending and think it is a prime example of poor governance, my disappointment is not sufficiently strong to warrant a paper such as this, but it should be considered as you deliberate how we might best make the town government more constructive and productive. On the September 13th meeting to which I referred, there was disharmony about the costs and the payments for the construction of the storm sewer line. That happened because of a lack of a written agreement between the contractor and the town, not the hospital. And because the contractor's request for payment was handled on a one-to-one relationship with the first selectman behind closed doors, such conversations should be transparent and discussed at open meetings in a timely way, not after the fact. In other meetings, there has been much dissatisfaction expressed about how the major $6 million project, the road rebuilding, was administered and supervised. I fully supported the idea advanced last year to undertake this program, and I am disappointed at the way it was administered. I've offered a few suggestions for your consideration, which might help in these circumstances. I expect no action tonight's meeting, but I do hope you will consider how or if you might want to respond or take any action on any of these suggestions. I suggest establishing the following general principles. 1, treat everyone with courtesy and respect. 2, be open and provide facts to support every significant decision. Decisions behind closed doors should be recorded and made known to the Board of Selectmen and to the Board of Finance in writing and in the minutes of their meetings. On major projects, those costing, say, $20,000 or more, provide monthly progress reports and financial statements as certified by the town treasurer and the Board of Finance. Currently, the Board of Finance feels it has no authority once a vote to proceed has been established. It should have the authority to say, stop, explain, without satisfactory explanations in the town meeting should be called, possibly followed by a town-wide vote, and press releases should be issued. In emergencies, some things have to be done on a handshake and orally, but these should be promptly confirmed in writing. Before undertaking a major project, expert testimony should be sought, testimony which should be established the do's and the don'ts, the hows and the whatnot. No individual and the selectmen themselves do not have enough know-how how to be an expert on all phases of town governance. Expertise is available, often through volunteers, and always from professionals at a reasonable cost. What is learned should be shared by all concerned. 5, priorities should be agreed upon before commencement, and these should be reviewed periodically and modified as necessary to accommodate unforeseen situations and costs. Again, these priorities should be made available to the public for comment and advice. Written schedules and projections should be available at least on a monthly basis. In every job I have ever been associated with, there are always unforeseen changes and challenges which need to be coped with as situations change and costs increase and as difficulties are uncovered. Such things need to be addressed openly. If these steps are not taken, the majority of the Board of Selectmen should be given the authority to stop the project, and even a single selectman should have the obligation to be a whistleblower and indicate strongly that something is amiss, like lack of transparency, lack of ability to maintain a reasonable schedule, and certainly when costs become unacceptable. In a democracy, inefficiency is often unavoidable, but it is preferred in place of autocratic, unchallenged unilateral decisions, which sometimes can be wrong and nearly always will be contentious. I urge that the Board of Selectmen establish a small group of volunteers to think about how we might better handle the open sharing of governance and remedy the problems exposed by the September 13th meeting. the existing volunteer long-range planning group might be asked. However, I think that a successful operation of the 3 existing commissions or boards might serve as an example, namely the Board of Finance, Inland Wetlands, and Sewer and Water Commission. They are all different, but successful. The current chairpersons, Barbara Crandall, Ed Kirby, Steve Solowitz, aided as necessary when the town attorney should be asked to make recommendations for any ordinances and improvements which they think might be applicable. Other names that join those 3 should be considered including Bob Box, Tom Barker, Malcolm Brown, Bob Nolan, and Betsy Paul. They all know more about such things than I do. I am certain that there are others in town who have the knowledge and the management skills. I thank you for your patience, and I'm just simply suggesting that something should be thought about and perhaps some action is taken. Thank you.
Okay. We're going to move on to number 6, status negotiations of the temporary eminent domain of Mitchelltown Road Bridge. And Meg and John are going to deal with that because I'm recusing myself on that because of adjacent property to that area. Meg, you want to?
Sure. Yeah, John? Last week, we met with Mr. and Mrs. Metz, and we discussed once again the project and the parameters that surround it. We had a very successful meeting, and there will be a follow-up at the end of this week to iron out a couple of small details. And we're very hopeful at this point that we will have contracts signed in the near future and that progress on that bridge will commence in the spring. We don't have anything signed at this point, but as I say, the negotiations and the discussion last week were very successful. So once we know more, we'll let you know.
I would say, we do establish a meeting on Thursday. I spoke to Mr. Metz. He was agreeable to meet.